That is it for guests, but we also have some new members. I want to acknowledge and welcome you and thank you for being here. Lori Barker, sorry, Barker Parker. I'm supposed to remember that, right? Jane Dougal, Patty Sando, and Chris Miles. Thank you all. It is so nice to see a full room. Thanks so much. I want to remind everybody that we are audio streaming, so people online will be able to hear us. They can't see us right yet, but they'll be able to hear us. We also will get these videos posted on our website. So for people who miss, you can check in and see what Dena Dawson has to say at a later time. I'm going to start with a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional indigenous homeland of Kalapuya peoples who were dispossessed of their indigenous homeland by the U.S. government and white settlers over several years, but most notably in treaties between 1851 and 1855. Kalapuya people were forcibly removed to what we are now the Grand Ronde and Siletz reservations and are now members of Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde Community of Oregon and the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians. In their communities and across the land we now refer to as Oregon. We share this information out of humility and respect for this indigenous-owned land and for the indigenous peoples who continue to live and thrive in what is now called the state of Oregon. There are additional resources available to you regarding Oregon land acknowledgements. We've had those posted in the Argus, and there'll be more information in articles in the future. Now, to introduce our special guest, Dena Dawson. I was so excited to meet Dena. Dena is our Lane County Clerk. She's responsible for the administration of elections, real property recordings, marriage licenses, domestic partnership registrations, and Board of Property Tax Appeals. Is that all correct? That's a big department. That's quite a bundle. Dena is one of our people, or rather I should say we are her people. But I suspect of all of those things that she does, that right now what's taking up much of her time is all things elections. And I already know she's intrepid. She's worked in Colorado, Nevada, and now Oregon. And please welcome Dena Dawson. It's all you.
Okay. Yes. Okay, good. Okay. Well, no one's going to get to see that I combed my hair today then. I just got back from Colorado yesterday. I went home to visit my family because I turned 50 on Saturday. So, yay. So I got back to work today, and I really was exhausted from traveling, and I looked at my day, which I usually do well in advance, and I was like, oh, shoot, I should have combed my hair nicer or maybe dressed a little more professionally. But if you come into the office on any given day, this is what I will look like. So I thought, what's the point in pretending? It's a very busy job, and so very nice to meet everyone, and I'm really glad to be here. I wanted to kind of introduce myself a little bit and then talk about some of the cool stuff that we've done since I've been here, and then talk about what's coming down the pike a little. So I grew up in Colorado. I do not ski. See, right off the bat, I grew up in the southern part of Colorado, right, like on the New Mexico border, so high desert there. So I started my career there in Colorado. About 10 years in Colorado, but my husband and I are gypsies, so we've moved around a little bit. So I started in Colorado, went to work in Multnomah County in the elections office as I was a couple of things there, but worked my way up to the project manager at Multnomah County elections. And then I went back to Colorado for a couple of years, and then I went to Nevada with my husband, who's a Reno, his fourth generation Nevadans out there. So I've been around a little bit, but my daughter's been living in Portland for 10 years, so when I saw Lane County was hiring and it was for a county clerk position, I decided to throw my hat in the ring, and I've been out here for a year and a half now. So when I moved around in Colorado, I started out in a county with about 125,000 voters, and then I worked in a county with only 10,000 voters, and so by the time I left Colorado, I was the director of elections in Denver, and I had 550,000 voters there. So it's pretty incredible that I worked harder in Archuleta County with only 10,000 voters because I was the only person there that did elections, so I did everything. You wore every single hat. As the director of elections in Denver, I had 25 employees, and we had hundreds of election workers, thousands of election workers because we had vote centers or in-person voting. But Denver had a lot of resources and a lot of staff. Archuleta County with only 10,000, we didn't have those things. In Nevada, I was the assistant county clerk in Minden, Nevada, so right on the Lake Tahoe border. I've lived in a lot of really beautiful places. As long as there are mountains, I will be there. So luckily, we have so much beautiful area here, and I get to be close to my daughter. So I've been able to move around a little bit and experience a lot of things, and mostly focusing on elections. This role here, as Terry mentioned, lots of different opportunities for learning some things. I am an election nerd. I passionately love elections and what I do. So I've been focusing the last year and a half on elections here in Lane County and making sure that we're prepared. So since arriving, I implemented a couple of things, and we all love vote by mail. Does anyone in this room not love vote by mail? Okay, I just wanted to check first. But in Colorado and Nevada, we vote by mail and people can go and vote in person. So it's a hybrid system in both of those states. So it's easier to conduct elections in Oregon. We mail a ballot and you vote. But there are a couple of things in Nevada and Colorado for vote by mail. They're way ahead of us. They offer many more opportunities for curing a ballot if your signature doesn't match. They offer same-day voter registration. There's a couple of things that when I talk to folks about Oregon and how we love vote by mail, a lot of times the answer or the response is, yeah, we're the best. And I'm like, well, there's opportunities for improvements. There's more that we could be doing. And so I look forward to working with the County Clerks Association to see how we can move the needle forward on some of those items. But where my purview is and where I do have the authority to make some changes is here in Lane County. So since getting here, I'm glad to have started the 24/7 live streaming. I'm not running for office. It's not like you're going to vote for me. I just want to brag about some of the cool stuff that we've done. This is an appointed position. So we started the 24/7 live stream, and we start to live stream. Congratulations. Excellent work. Way to work through that. So we started the 24/7 live streaming, I think in November of 2022. And I got here in July of 2022. And so we already had a camera system with cameras set up just to make sure that the ballot processing was secure. So we worked with TS, our technology services, just to spin that up real quick and make it available on YouTube. And then what is live streaming if you're watching it and you have no idea what's happening? Just a bunch of people in a room. So we put together that 8-step ballot processing guide where you can go to the live stream camera that says deconstruction, and then you can go to the 8-step ballot processing guide and say, what the heck is deconstruction? And we did have a vote with our deconstruction team members, and they don't like that name, but we're keeping it. Because they were called opening boards before, and that gives the perception that they're just opening ballots, but it's so much more than that. The deconstruction teams are separating the ballots from the envelope, and they are doing an enhanced review and inspection of the ballots to make sure that what you marked on that ballot is going to count. How is the machine going to read that vote? Is the machine going to understand what your intent was if you marked 2 bubbles but you put an X through it and said not this one, that one? So, which happens all the time. And that's what we ask you to do. This is what we say, what we ask you to do. So our teams that are deconstructing those ballots have a very difficult task of reviewing those, making sure that the voter's intent will be read by the machine, reconciling every single batch to make sure that every single ballot that was started in that batch is there. So they're counting, filling out paperwork. It's a very detailed process. And I can tell you that I am so proud that in Lane County, as soon as I arrived, we've been able to balance to 0, which means every single ballot that comes through, we know where it goes through. Thank you. I'm really proud of that. I always say my legacy as the election gypsy I am is whatever county I'm at. There's no, I don't know. We have to know. That's why we put systems in place, so we know exactly where every ballot is going. We have to have the same amount ballots cast, given credit in the system as counted. And if we don't have that amount, we have to know exactly why that happened, and we do that in Lane County. So we describe these processes for folks. So if you go online and watch the live stream, you can watch the 8-step ballot processing guide. And you can tie those together and see how everything looks. And then we also started the ballot return dashboards. I'm not sure if y'all have had a chance to look at those, but there's always the questions about how many ballots do you have back so far? How many ballots did you mail? How many people do you have that have challenged to their signatures? How many of those people have cured those challenges? And so there's always this universe of ballots out there. We mailed 275,000. So far, 100,000 have come back. We created a visual display of that. We always had the data. We always had the reports. But who wants to look at an Excel spreadsheet? I mean, I don't mind looking at it, but we just made it visually appealing. So if you go to the Lane County Elections website right now, you can click on the ballot dashboards, and you can go back and look at the ballot returns since we started this process. So it's going to be super cool once we've gone through a full 4-year election cycle, because you'll be able to say, so in the presidential of 24, we would have been able to compare it to 2020, and we'd be able to look side by side. How many ballots went out? How many ballots were returned? Of those, how many were challenged, and how many of those were cured? So the challenge ballot is your signature doesn't match or you didn't sign it. And then the cure means that you've provided sufficient evidence that we know it's you and we count your ballot. So we created the ballot dashboard. So those are available on the website. And those are available now. So anyone can go and look at the website to find that information. And then we put together, again, I'm an election nerd, so I love to educate people on the process. And my goal is to normalize everything that people freak out about. Like if you're freaking out about voter fraud, I got 2 ballots, well, here's why. It's normal for that to happen in some occasions. So quit freaking out. Like, let's just make it normal. It's nothing to call the media about. So we're working on a campaign for 2024 to kind of help normalize some of those events. And so as trying to educate folks on the process, also on the website, we have the life cycle of a ballot that just kind of walks folks through where does a ballot even come from? How do we build that out? What does the timeline look like? So on the elections website, if you click on election security, there are several links on that election security page that will take you to the life cycle of a ballot, or the 8-step ballot processing guide, or a tentative schedule of ballot processing activities. Sure, we can have the live stream and we can put together an 8-step ballot processing guide that will help you understand, but what good does it do you if you don't have any idea when that stuff is happening? You're not going to be sitting at your live stream just waiting for a head to pop up and then you know. So we put out in front of every election a tentative schedule. Of course, us doing work depends on you returning ballots. So we we guesstimate when we're going to start these activities. If you want to watch the ballot deconstruction process, you want to have an idea of when that's occurring, so you could either come into the office and observe or watch online. So all of those materials are available on the election security tab on our website. I almost hate driving you to our website because we're working with what we have. We have to use the Civic Live platform that the county uses. And so you're only allowed a couple of different layout opportunities. And so they use like an accordion kind of a filing system. We have 18 accordions. So you click on the accordion and it opens up and shares more information. But we're sharing so much information that I know it can be better, and we're working to make it better, but that's what we have right now. But we have the accordions numbered, so that if you call and say, where do I find out about petitions? We say, go down to accordion number 13. It's really what we're working with the best that we have. But there's a lot of really good information on the Lane County Elections website. I really would ask that as our partners, yeah, that would be great if you want to open that up. We've got so many awesome tools here. If when you're talking to folks about elections, and for those that really just kind of don't really care anymore, there's so many people that are kind of burned out. If you scroll down a little bit, these are the accordions. See 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It does go down to where there are 18 of those. And this is only the elections website. It doesn't even have the deeds and records stuff. But the ballot processing 101 videos, we did some short videos walking people through the process. Then we have the ballot returns dashboards where you can see the ballot returns. But there's the 2024 primary election. That's already the landing page for the election, so you can already see how that's shaping and building out. And then the election security tab is the tab. Do you mind clicking on that one? That's where you can see when the live streaming starts. That will link you to the live streaming. That's the tentative ballot processing schedule, the 8-step ballot processing guide, the life cycle of a ballot. Do you mind clicking on the life cycle of a ballot one? Just to show you a couple of the graphics that we put together. Isn't it cute? That little truck. Look at, ballots have been produced, they're being delivered. So we kind of wanted to show that E-60 is election day minus 60 days. So this is what the elections office is doing. We're creating the ballots that day. That's when all of the information is funneled to us. We've had all of the measures filed, we've had all the candidates filing, and we start building the ballots. We do that ourselves. I call it artwork. We create the artwork. So if there's something spelled wrong, it was us. And we proof ballots for days and days and days and days. And I hate it. I thought as county clerk I wouldn't have to proof ballots anymore, but I still do. But it shows that we create those, we test them, we make sure that everything is, every unique ballot style, that it's accurate. That if you're living in 4J, you're getting 4J on your ballot and not Siuslaw 97. So our team creates those, and then after we produce the official ballots, which is a short window, at E-60, we're barely creating them and proofing them. At E-45, we're already sending ballots to our military and overseas voters. So it's such a very short turnaround of time. So we created some of these graphics to help people understand what it is that we do. So if I can drive you to our website and you could tolerate those 18 accordions, you know, there's a lot of good information out there if you're sharing it with folks when you're talking about the upcoming election. Every question, we're trying to be radically transparent in Lane County so that when people don't trust the process, why? What else can we do? What else can we do? Come and see it. Our doors are wide open. We will gladly walk anyone through the process. We're open for in-person observation. We're live streaming 24/7. And we have a lot of security controls that are in place. So that election security page on our website talks about the full comprehensive overview of the process. Then there's the little 8-step ballot processing guide that's kind of a summary of what's happening. So those are some of the things that we've put in place. The one piece that I'm super proud of that is, I don't have anything big and flashy to show you about it, but the cure process. For people that have a signature discrepancy or they forgot to sign their ballot, the way to cure a ballot in the past was, it really was. And the way that we administered those, and this is not, I want to go on the record to say, I'm not trying to shade the former administration. You know, I've come from a background and have had all of these tools that were available to me that I was like, why are we not doing these things? And if they didn't know that these things were there to be done or that it could be better, that's not what this is about. But when we got here, we literally would mail you a letter and a new voter registration card that had a blue dot on it with a marker. And then our team was somehow magically supposed to know that when a registration card came back with the blue dot, that person was attempting to cure their ballot. So it was really, really antiquated process. And you couldn't cure a ballot via email because you couldn't scan one of those hard cards to send them in. So we changed the cure process because the law says that if a person could provide sufficient evidence that it was them that signed their ballot, that we could count it. So we started offering folks the opportunity to, we send a cure letter that has the affidavit on the back that says, yep, it was me, I signed that ballot, and they're signing an affirmation, and then we ask them to provide a copy of ID, acceptable ID if they have it. So even if there's an issue with the signature where it still maybe doesn't seem like it's 100% match, we have an affirmation on file from them and sufficient ID. So they've been able to prove that it was them. And so we've modernized the way that those are coming in, and we're now scanning those into the voter registration record, and we're getting a new signature. So we're building out a robust opportunity for having more signatures on file for the verification process. So we're building out a robust system of having more signatures. You can cure your ballot by taking a photo of it and emailing it to us, because not everybody has a scanner at home. And if you don't have the opportunity to take a photograph and email it to us, you can return it by mail or bring it into the office. So we're really just educating folks on that process. We also put the cure letters on our website during an active election because some people might not even know that their signature was challenged, right? So when a signature doesn't match, we mail you a letter that says, hey, you forgot to sign your ballot. Please return this to us no later than the 21st day after the election. But if they don't happen to get that, and then at E+15, 15 days after the election, the list of people who have a signature challenge becomes publicly available. So this used to happen in Colorado all the time. That list becomes available, the race is close, the parties are coming in, they're getting that list, they're going to your house, they're calling you, saying, hey, cure your ballot. And they're like, I didn't even know. So now, when you're working with folks, or if you're working with folks to cure your ballot, we have the cures available on the website. You could just go print off the letter, sign it, or call us and we'll mail you one, or you can come in. So we're looking at ways to make it as accessible as possible and as easy as possible for someone to have their vote counted. So I'm excited about the cures, but we have miles to go. There are tools available that are being in other states where you can text to cure. We send you a text and you sign on an app, and that signature is presented to us through a secure FTP. And that's been being used since 2020 in other states. And it's just, so it's something that I am working with to see with the other counties. Can we do something like this here? Can we make it more accessible for folks? Because mostly everyone has a smartphone. So those are some of the cool things that we are working to improve and will continue to modernize. But I wanted to talk about 2024 at a glance. That's that little page that I sent over if you want. Well, and I will gladly, I'm not really a presentation person anyway, so I was like, I'm just going to probably talk and be off the cuff, and then I'll say, oh, shoot, I was supposed to say this, this, and this. But some of the things that we're working on for 2024. So I'm not sure if you know this or not, but we moved the Deeds and Records team from the PSB in with us at the elections building, and we've changed all the signage, so now it's the county clerk's office. So we moved 5 full-time staff from Deeds and Records in with us at elections. And it's already been a tight squeeze, but we're all living together. We have new roommates. And I've been focusing on elections for a year and a half, and we were lucky to have Marl Honey for 26 years as our Deeds and Records manager. He retired and moved to St. Louis like in a minute. It came quick. He was planning on staying through 2024, so my focus has been able to be on elections. But now that we've moved the Deeds and Records team in with us, we're learning, shoot, we need to modernize a bunch of stuff on that side of the house too. It wasn't only the election side that needed some modernization. So we're really focusing on that. So we've set up a civil ceremony online application. By law, the county clerk can marry couples. I can officiate weddings. But it's only the county clerk that can do it. I can't have any of my deputies do it. So every Wednesday, I'm blocked, and I'm just civil ceremonying it up all day. Couples are coming in, and I'm marrying them, and we get them their documentation. And so if we weren't busy enough, now on Wednesdays, my days are blocked because by law, only the county clerk can do it. So we've made an online website so folks can just go and schedule a 30-minute ceremony, and they come in, they pay their fee. I was kind of joking with the team that we set it up like a drive-through. Like, how can we make this more efficient? But we want it to be lovely for folks too. So, so since Deeds and Records has moved in, we're working on creating more of a county clerk's office than 2 separate staffs. So our elections team is learning Deeds and Records, and Deeds and Records will learn elections. So we're working on that. Let's see. I am replacing in the budget I asked for to replace a few ballot drop boxes. So River Road, the drop box there is always full all the time, and it's a small kind of it looks like the old mailbox types. So we're replacing it with the larger box, and so we're replacing 5 boxes. You know, we're targeting the busiest boxes first. And so through that project, we are looking at getting official agreements on file for our drop sites. Can we move our drop sites so that they're under the camera of the current infrastructure so that we can have eyes on those ballot boxes? Because we do not have that now. And unfortunately, we don't have money in the budget to set up the camera infrastructure for all 21 of our drop sites. So we're working on replacing 5 of our boxes and then potentially moving some of our busiest boxes to the same location, but maybe can we move it 500 feet this way so that the traffic pattern is safer. And at 8 o'clock at night, when there's a line of people, it's easier to manage so that we make sure that every person in line by 8 gets the opportunity to drop a ballot. And can we possibly be on your camera infrastructure? So we're working on that project now, and so right after the primary election, we're going to be replacing just a few boxes. So we're working on that, and we're going to continue modernizing the signature verification cure process. So we are creating audits. So there's no requirement in law for us to audit automatic signature verification or human signature verification. But how do we identify what's our ID in Oregon? It's a signature. And so there's a lot of concern that there's signature fraud. And so we're working on creating some audits. So we're gonna, if there's a batch of 200 ballots that came through the ballot sorter, we're gonna audit all 200 that were good, that the machine found to be good, and we're just gonna audit to make sure, yes, we agree with those. We're gonna do the same thing with humans that are doing signature verification. We're working with the vendor to find ways to pull data, so we'll have reports so we can create a dashboard type of so we can look to say, geez, Judy, you're accepting 100% of the signatures all of the time. Like, either they're all perfect, or maybe you fell asleep at the wheel. And so it'll give us the opportunity to provide some real-time feedback, and if somebody is rejecting every signature, we're able to provide some additional training. But just so you know, when you're doing signature verification, party affiliation is never even considered. It doesn't even show up in the program, which is another concern of some folks. They think that the team is rejecting every Republican signature that comes through, or every Democratic signature that's coming through. So we're creating this audit program, and in the signature review area, I'm putting 43-inch monitors, which are quite affordable. So I'm very, I really am cautious about spending taxpayer money. So we're buying just some 43-inch monitors, and we're putting them above the workstation. So if you're there to observe, you can actually see. Because right now, if you're there to observe, you would have to be standing over their shoulder. And who wants to be an election worker making $15 an hour with somebody standing right over your shoulder as you're making choices? So we're improving the observation of that and putting in some signature audits. So that's one of the things coming down the pike. We're doing an I Voted coloring page contest. I know, I'm so excited. We don't have the bandwidth to do it, but I did it because I've been wanting to do it for so long. As you know, we don't mail out I Voted stickers in Oregon. And in both other states that I've worked in, we mailed you an I Voted sticker with your ballot. It's a big deal. And so to put an I Voted sticker in every ballot envelope and affix it to the instructions is like $1. Yeah, way too much, right? But 10 cents if we mail out a little 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that has already some drawings. So starting on February 1st, we're starting an I Voted coloring page contest where there's 4 different categories from elementary school, middle school, high school, and then college or vocational students, where they can submit a drawing that's, on a quarter sheet of paper using black ink. They're just going to draw something out, and it's going to say, I voted. And then we're going to pick the winners of those, and then it'll go out with our ballots for the presidential election. So the goal will be that you get your ballot and you get a color, which, I'm one of those people with adult coloring books where I'm, every time we go camping, I'm sitting there in the camper coloring. So I'm hoping that it'll drum up some attention and that we'll get some good press out there. And then people can use hashtag I Voted Lane County and share a copy of whichever one they colored and what one their favorite is. So we're starting that contest February 1st through April 1st. And again, expect to see that in your presidential election ballot packet. Starting February 1st, we are starting the, we're modernizing the way we do election worker recruitment. So you're gonna have to go to the website and resubmit. But we, so we're just spinning up a web page where folks can see what the jobs are and then submit an online interest form. And then we're basically refreshing the pool of election workers, and we're doing it in a more of a modernized way so we could track every applicant. The way it happened in the past is someone would ask for an application and fill it out, and then it would go into this giant pile. And then when we needed somebody, one person in the office would somehow go through that giant pile and say, how about this person? So we're trying to refresh the pool. We want to use anyone that's interested in working, but we need to get a more bipartisan approach to election work. Because in Lane County, I'm going to say 70% of our election workers are Democrats or unaffiliated, so it's really hard to put together a bipartisan team. And if we want to prove that there's integrity in the way we're processing ballots, we need to get some bipartisan teams in there. So we're working on that new recruitment, and so the website will start for election workers. And we want students to apply. Like, we want to open the doors. We want people, regardless of your age, to come in and see, because it's actually super cool. Like, it really is. I think when people do it, they're just like, wow, like, this was so fun, and I'm a part of this. It's very empowering, and geez, I almost started crying there. I just do that. You'll see. If you come and work with us, you'll see I'll probably just start bawling half the time, because we can't do the work without election workers, and we really are defending democracy. And the longer I've been doing this, when I say that, I mean it. I really mean it. So we're going to start a new temporary election worker recruitment. And so we're going to work with the county to do a press release and try to get as many people to sign up. So if you know anyone that is interested, send them to the elections website, and we'll have a little subpage for election workers to sign up. Geez, I was worried I wasn't going to be able to talk long enough, but Lane County has volunteered to be a pilot county for the new statewide voter registration system. So we were supposed to go live in February. Yeah. We were supposed to go live in February with this new system, but it's been difficult. So it got pushed to 2025. So no matter how short-staffed we are, and we're going to be conducting a presidential election, we want to make sure that this system is good and that it does what we need it to do. So we are going to find the resources within our team of subject matter experts to make sure that this system works for Lane County and for the whole state of Oregon. Especially with my background in being in multiple states, I know what a statewide system, I know the cool stuff about Nevada system. Like, why don't we have this? And I know the great things about Colorado's system. And I know the great thing about Oregon system. Like, we're paying money for this system. Let's make it work for us. So we signed up to be a pilot county, so we're going to be making sure and shepherding that project along the way. So any thoughts or concerns, or if you're you know what would be really cool, email me and let me know. I mean, we're looking at in making part of this new system the ballot track, so that you can track your ballot. We're looking at making these things part of the system. So we're going to be doing that. We also signed up to be a pilot county for RLAs, or risk limiting audits. So after the presidential election, we're going to be piloting an RLA. And luckily, the deputy director of elections here in Oregon is a Colorado colleague of mine. So he's like, Dena, do you want to do an RLA? Yeah, we'll do it tomorrow. I mean, so that's really exciting, because when we're trying to prove the integrity of elections to folks who don't trust it, having a really solid post-election audit process really helps us. And right now, the post-election audit process works. I can't get anyone to come and observe, though. I mean, the state randomly identifies boxes of ballots that we have to hand count and then compare to the voting system. So we are already doing a hand count audit after every election, and I cannot get anyone to come and observe. And then I'm thinking, well, you must trust the process then, because you're not even coming to watch to see how we're auditing. But so we're excited to do a risk limiting audit after the presidential. And by the time I created this document, I had onboarding and training staff. We have had the chief deputy position vacant for 3.5 months now. And the chief deputy is basically the right hand. You know, they're leading both of the programs. And we've lost our election supervisor. So Drew, who was our election supervisor he'd only been there 3 years. We have a very green team. I don't know if folks were able to hear any of the NPR interviews or such. We've lost 70% of our team. And our elections team is 70% of them. This will be their first presidential election. So we've had a lot of turnover. And so we've finally worked with the county just as of a couple of days ago to get them to kind of agree to giving us a little bit of grace. And our current program supervisor is going to be an interim chief deputy for a year, so we can start focusing on the task at hand and conducting the election and not trying to recruit. The folks that have been applying for that position have no experience at all, and we really need we really need to be like all hands on deck for this election and with people that know what they're doing. So we're going to have our chief deputy position filled by our current program supervisor, and one of our senior staff is going to do an interim program supervisor. So we're still going through the election one person down, but it's not going to be that chief deputy role. So we are going to be hiring on the 1st, I'm publishing 3 more positions. I'm hiring 2 senior election staff and a senior admin analyst who's basically a lead on the deeds and record side. We haven't really been getting any applicants with any training. Elections is such a niche field. I mean, it's hard to snag somebody. I mean, not everybody's daughter lives in Portland, you know, and their daughter doesn't like to travel, so they have to move here so they could see them. But so we're going to have some key positions to be filled, but at least we're getting somewhere. We've got a decision to be made. So, and then we're preparing for the possible implementation of STAR and possibly ranked choice voting. So just with the dates for us and some of the discussions I've had with Sarah, I'm worried about implementing them both and how we make that work. But throughout my life in elections, I've implemented a lot of stuff and we just make it work. If both ranked choice voting and STAR voting are adopted, people will have just more options. But figuring out how to make it work is what we're working through. So some of the critical things there, ranked choice voting will go on November 2024's ballot. And if adopted, it becomes effective in 2028, and STAR on May 2024, and if effective, 2026. So at least those staggered dates would give the elections team some time to figure out how to implement them in the voting system, because these things, it's not like I just push a button and say, switch to STAR voting on this ballot page. It doesn't exist. So we'll have to work with the voting system vendor to create that. And then the voting system vendor has been working with Multnomah and Benton County because they've been doing ranked choice voting. So there's already a little bit of a runway for us to kind of follow. But so those are a couple of the things that are like coming down the pike for us that we're paying attention to. So I covered a lot of information. Let me see. Ooh, that leaves time for questions. I feel ready. Okay.
That was fantastic. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you so much. So you all have cards at your table. If you've filled them out already, that means you have a question. We'll be kind of forward some questions. I'm going to start with this one. How can the League of Women Voters of Lane County be of service?
Let me get my list here. How can the League of Women Voters be of service? One thing that I didn't put on this list because it's on the 2024 at a glance, because we're in survival mode at work. We're just kind of trying to survive and focus on the election. But in Denver, I partnered with the League of Women Voters to do a confined voting program where we would go to the jails and register someone to vote and then issue them a ballot right then. And so that was supported by League of Women Voters. We would take a ballot on demand printer and a tablet that had the Colorado voter registration system, and Colorado allowed for same-day voter registration. So we worked with League of Women Voters and with some of our advocacy groups, and we would just plan a day to go to the jail and have persons that were interested come down, register to vote, and then receive a ballot and vote it. And so that's one of my goals. But any type of assistance in helping us get the word out about the tools that are available to voters would be greatly appreciated. But absolutely a future partnership with the confined voting program. That's been one of my passion projects since I got here.
Given the recent incident, tell us with receiving questionable mail. Tell us about safety measures for your workers.
Thank you. So safety measures for our staff with the recent suspicious mail incident. We've unfortunately, since 2016, this is the world that I live in, and so we basically got lazy, thinking that we could just go to work and do our jobs without fearing for our lives, if you can believe it. So we're just dusting off some of our safety protocols that we had in place. So there are lots of resources for election workers, and we partner with lots of groups who will help us in the event that something like this happens. So we have gone into high security mode. The elections office, or the new county clerk's office, is quite secure. We had grant funding in 2020, so there are bollards in front to keep people from driving through. We have bullet-resistant glass. We have internal, I know, right? We have internal security protocols for when to call for assistance. So I think we really just, I guess in a way I'm glad it happened because we're all safe, but it just reminded me that it's time to turn up the heat when it comes to protecting our staff. But the law did change last year, and there are protections for election workers. So believe it or not, it's in the law that you can't spit on me. And if you do, it's written into law that here's the penalties. So we're just really just in super heightened awareness of the safety of our team, who are really just trying to do our jobs without fearing for our lives. So.
Right. How obtrusive or troublesome are observers?
I love observers. I love them. I mean, if you can, this is my goal in life, is to turn an observer. Come at me. Come at me with every question that you have. Most observers, when they come in with an agenda. And by the time I will spend the time with them, we will sit, we will talk, I will let them ask questions. And when they leave, they get it. So I never find them troublesome. Some of the counties, I go to a lot of conferences with election officials, and they have like a negative kind of perception in their mind, but I love them. Come and watch the process, and then you're our biggest advocate, or maybe you're going to go out there thinking the same thing you thought, but at least I showed you, and now you're just a big fat liar face.
You know, she's live streaming this, of course. Here's a really good question. Can we leverage the ballot initiative process to help identify and cure voter registration and signature issues in advance of elections?
Yeah, I think, honestly, there could be changes made in law to set out what the administrative process looks like, but the cure is strictly administrative. By us switching to this new statewide voter registration system, what the state is calling Orvis, we are supposed to be able to have now the capacity and the bandwidth to upload multiple signatures. We're going to have a more robust system of signatures. So I think that we're working towards that now, but I think it wouldn't hurt through the initiative process if there was a change made to the administrative process that required some of these things. In Lane County, we modernized the process so you could cure via email. Some counties don't offer that option. So there is an opportunity to put something in law that would require all counties, oh, the clerks are going to be so mad at me, that would require all of the counties to be more uniform in what they did to cure ballots, so that there's always an option there.
Do you want us to cut that part out of the video? I'm teasing. Yeah. Why did you lose 70% of election workers?
Our team was already green. I mean, some of our team, the most senior member of this team is 2 years full-time, 1 year as an election worker. So I think organically, when a new person comes on board, there's always kind of an organic rebuilding of an office. I it shouldn't speak to how awesome of a boss I am, because I'm pretty sure I'm pretty good, but we should ask them. But we had two people retire that had been there for multiple years, and then I did come in and make a lot of changes, and I set the bar high for our team to say we want to be the best. I'm a middle child, I'll say, right in front. Mom and Dad, look at me. So now I'm like, State of Oregon, look at Lane County. So I set the bar really high, and I'm not saying people left because the bar is so high now, but the goal and the morale in the office is the few of us that are there now are 100% on board to make this be what we want it to be. And so there's also, I think, just naturally across the country, election officials are leaving. No one that's making $20 an hour should have to worry about opening a package that has a suspicious substance. No one should have to be berated by customers because they don't trust a system. It's really hard, and I love what I do, and my team loves what they do. But if you look across the country, election officials are leaving in really high numbers. So
Every response is a good response. Thank you. How about hand counting versus machine voting? Can you speak to that?
that's a hard one, right? Well, so there's been this thing nationwide for several years now that there's this big movement to go back to counting by hand. The answer is simple. No. I mean, no. I don't get to do that. But the answer is that isn't going to get the results that you want. That isn't going to provide accurate numbers of how votes are counted. It isn't going to be fast. It isn't going to be accurate. It isn't going to be efficient. So whenever there's been these discussions, and I don't know if you follow politics in Nevada, where a lot of my colleagues are, where this has happened to them, and it's not yielding the results. So before we're talking about making a significant change like that, let's talk about what you want the outcome to be and what controls are already in place. Guess what? That's already happening. So I just think that's the big thing there, is that there's this whole push out there, but when you really get to the root of it, why? And let's tell you what controls are in place. Come and observe, come and be an election worker, come and see what audits are in place, and then you're not going to be as keen on that type of a change, or I would hope.
So here's a good one. How can we have both star voting and ranked choice voting?
Well, you vote in November 2024 for star or RCV, and you vote. I mean, how can we? The question is, they both get voted in and it happens. And so to operationalize those two things is going to be difficult, but we've operationalized difficult things before. So to successfully implement two different options, voter outreach, education, training, and then building two separate systems. So it will be a ton of education. Folks will need to understand that in certain elections they may have 3 different ballot cards that come, and they may have to vote all 3 of those ballot cards in different ways. So we just have to operationalize things. And we want people to have multiple choices, right? We want people to have more choices. We just have to figure out how to get it done.
You may have already covered this one, but what is your opinion of the security of electronic voting, i.e. using computer screens?
It's secure. Everything comes down to chain of custody. So yes, you put a voting system. If I came in with the voting system and sat it in the corner, is that secure? No. Any person could put in a USB drive, physical security and chain of custody is what makes electronic voting secure. In Nevada and Colorado, we had to take voting systems to multiple voting sites. So you put a seal over any component on that voting system with the chain of custody log that says, Dena and Kevin put on seal number 1234 over port 1 on this date and this time. And then at the polling place, Judy and Joe verified at 8 a.m. that seal number 1234 is still in that USB port at this time. And every day you verify the seals. And if ever there's an issue with the seal, you pull that machine out of service and you deal with it. But the chain of custody and physical security is what makes electronic voting systems secure. No one can go into the room at the elections office with the voting tabulation equipment except for specific staff that have access and election workers. 2 people have to be together to go into that room during an election cycle. It takes 2 badges to get into that room. So not even me can go in that room by myself. And it's live streamed. So the physical security of the voting system and the audits before the election and after the election prove that those machines were secure and the expected results. Do you all know that we do 3 logic and accuracy tests every election? We ourselves hand mark ballots, 1 ballot for every ballot type, for every race, and we run them through, and we make sure that the system is producing the expected results. Then we do that 3 times, and so we do it right before we start counting ballots. If the results are different, then we're going to know that something happened. Why are these results different now than they were when we did this 2 weeks ago? We would know. And then after the election, before we certify the election, but when we're done counting, we run that same exact test, and we would know if there was something something malicious that happened to that system. But we already know because the room is locked down, 2 badge access under live surveillance, and no one goes into that room, and the voting system is air-gapped and not attached to the internet in any way, or the network even. So I have a ton of confidence in the security of the voting systems, and I can only say that about Lane County and counties I've worked at because I'm in control of that security. Other counties, this would be the job of everyone. Go learn your county clerk. See what processes they have in place. Could they be more secure? Maybe. If so, you should talk to them about that and see if they could implement some of these things.
You are our county clerk. So, yeah. So I just want to confirm that on your website there are videos that teachers can use to show students how to vote? Sure. Yeah. Walk through ballot processing. We don't have time for a couple more questions, but I'm going to have them up here in case somebody wants to address them with you after. But we've got a couple more announcements before I let you go. But I want you to give a rousing hand to Dena. Okay. So I started out by saying that we bought these for you, but we really bought them for your daughter. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. I want the rest of you to know too that we also, the League of Women Voters, provided a gift certificate for a local bakery for elections workers to support them, knowing that we really do want our election workers to feel safe, secure, and supported in our community, and we will do what we can to assist in that way. So thank you again. We have 2 more people in the room. They are members of the League of Women Voters, but Sarah Walk and Sass are here at the front table. These are people that you will be seeing in the future because they will be doing education with the League of Women Voters on star voting for the May Eugene election. So you know that we've already started writing articles about what's coming up in the May election, and we want people to understand STAR in order to vote whether or not they want to keep things the way they are, no, or they want something different, yes. That you'll see more and more of that coming your way. We have Garrett Epps as our next month's speaker. We've had Professor Dr. Epps, give me the right Professor Epps before. We're talking about the Supreme Court. He's an excellent speaker, and knows that subject in and out. So please make sure you make a reservation for next month. And I also have a thank you that is a little late. I got this one coming up. Another thank you to Linda Ferdosian. Where's Linda? Linda. Linda is behind the scenes every single day, and she really, on her own, moved us from one office to another several times now. She had help, but she's so organized that she makes it look easy, and I know it's a lot of work. So Linda, please come forward, just so that we all can say thank you. Couple more things. I'm trying to keep you within this hour. We have on your table, this is thanks to Sharon Amasha. Sharon is just so creative, and we want you all to know that we have committee work to do. We have volunteer tasks coming up. It may just be attending one meeting a month. We're just asking to step forward. This is a big year. 2024, as you just heard, is a big year. We've got lots to do. We're very excited about just the numbers of people that want to help us do the work. So please make sure that you fill this out and leave them on the table, get them back to us, and thank Sharon and the membership committee for pushing forward. I also want to mention that we have some large sponsors that provide sustaining support for us through some advertising dollars that they give to us. And we know that, our directory doesn't go out to huge numbers of people. So we appreciate Lane Forest Products. Yay, yay, yay. AARP of Oregon. You can hold your applause and I'll do the whole list, okay? Umpqua Bank, Baker Bay Bead Company, longtime supporter, Sundance Natural Foods, Unique Properties, Inc., Christine Dombach, Farmers Insurance, and Loring Miller, DMD. So thank you. If you know those businesses or use or want to promote those businesses, that would be fantastic. When you go to the dentist, to Dr. Miller, tell him that the League of Women Voters appreciates him. Any other announcements from the floor? We are done. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.